Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we are diving into something truly special, a Maryland classic, the Smith Island cake.
Oh, the Smith Island cake. It's so much more than just a cake. It's a tradition. It's a symbol of Maryland's culinary heritage.
Right. And it's this beautiful, towering, layered cake. And it's got these thin layers of yellow cake. And then between each layer, you've got this rich, decadent chocolate fudge frosting.
It's like a symphony of flavors and textures. You get the soft, delicate cake and then that hit of rich chocolate. And it just keeps going, layer after layer.
And we're going to walk everyone through how to make it today. We're going to break it down step by step.
Sounds delicious. Where do we start?
Well, let's begin with that irresistible frosting, because I think that's the heart and soul of a Smith Island cake.
I agree. That frosting is something special.
You start with some pretty basic ingredients. Butter.
Ah, butter. The foundation of so many good things.
Exactly. Then you need some chopped bittersweet chocolate.
Now, the bittersweet chocolate is key. It adds that depth of flavor and keeps it from being too sweet.
Then you've got sugar, heavy cream, vanilla extract.
Vanilla, just a touch, to enhance all those chocolatey notes.
And of course, you can't forget that pinch of salt. It just brings everything together.
Salt is the magic ingredient in so many recipes.
So you melt all of these ingredients together in a saucepan over medium heat. Watching that chocolate melt into the butter and cream is just so satisfying.
It's like a little culinary alchemy happening right there in the pan.
Once everything is melted and smooth, you bring it to a boil for about a minute. This helps to thicken it up and create that beautiful glossy finish.
That boil is important. It helps to emulsify the ingredients and ensures that the frosting sets up properly.
Then you take it off the heat, stir in that vanilla extract, and set it aside to cool while you prepare the cake layers. It's hard to resist, but you have to let it cool so it thickens up to that perfect spreading consistency.
Patience is key when it comes to baking, especially with frosting.
Okay, now for the cake layers. First, you preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit.
Got it, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. What's next?
You're going to need 3 9-inch round cake pans. You grease them well and then line them with parchment paper.
Parchment paper is a lifesaver when it comes to baking. It prevents the cakes from sticking and makes it so much easier to get them out of the pan.
Absolutely. Okay, so for the dry ingredients, you're going to need flour, baking powder, baking soda, and a pinch of salt.
Classic cake ingredients. Simple, but effective.
You whisk all of those dry ingredients together in a large bowl. And this is important. You want to sift the flour. It helps to create a lighter, more tender crumb.
Sifting aerates the flour and gets rid of any lumps. Plus, it's just fun to do.
Now for the fun part, creaming the butter and sugar. You want to cream them together until they're light and fluffy. A stand mixer definitely makes this easier, but you can do it by hand if you need to.
Creaming the butter and sugar is what gives the cake its structure. It incorporates air into the batter, which makes it rise beautifully in the oven.
You're going to notice that the mixture lightens in color and becomes really smooth.
It's almost like whipped cream.
Now you're ready to add the eggs. You want to add them one at a time, beating well after each addition.
Adding the eggs slowly helps them to incorporate evenly into the batter. You don't want to end up with streaks of egg white.
And finally, you stir in the vanilla extract.
Ah, that vanilla. It smells so good.
Okay, now we're going to combine the wet and dry ingredients. You add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients, alternately with the buttermilk.
Buttermilk. That adds a wonderful tanginess to the cake.
And you start and end with the dry ingredients. This helps to prevent overmixing, which can make the cake tough.
Overmixing is the enemy of a tender crumb. You want to mix just until everything is combined.
You should have a smooth and creamy batter at this point.
It should be thick but pourable.
Divide the batter evenly among those 3 prepared cake pans.
You want to make sure each layer is the same thickness so they bake evenly.
Pop them in the preheated oven for about 12 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean.
That toothpick test is a baker's best friend. It tells you if the cake is done without having to cut into it.
Once they're baked, let them cool in the pans for about 10 minutes before inverting them onto a wire rack to cool completely.
Cooling completely is important. You don't want the frosting to melt when you spread it on warm cake layers.
Now comes the fun part, assembly. Take one of your cooled cake layers and place it on your serving plate.
Oh, okay. I'm ready to build this cake.
Spread a generous layer of that chocolate fudge frosting on top. Then pop it with another cake layer and repeat.
Don't be shy with the frosting. It's what makes a Smith Island cake so special.
After you've stacked all the layers, frost in the top and sides of the cake.
Make sure to get that frosting nice and smooth. You can use an offset spatula to help you.
Now the final step, Let the cake rest for at least 30 minutes or even up to an hour before serving. This allows the frosting to set and the flavors to meld.
Letting the cake rest is like letting it take a deep breath. It gives the flavors time to develop and become even more delicious.
And there you have it, a magnificent Smith Island cake. It's a true Maryland treasure, and it's surprisingly easy to make at home.
It's the kind of cake that will impress everyone at your next gathering.
And for the full recipe, with step-by-step photos, head over to www.forcanfry.com. You can also find tons of other delicious recipes and baking tips on our blog.
Don't forget to share photos of your creations on social media and tag us. We'd love to see what you're baking.
And let us know what you think of this recipe. We're always looking for feedback. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Smith Island cake. Happy baking!